People severely underestimate the amount of work, resources, time, and sacrifices necessary to make one business succeed or one opportunity succeed. If you're dividing your energy between 5 different businesses or 5 different things, you'll never get to the point where that one thing is actually successful. In this video, Richard Yu is going to explain why multiple income streams is a scam. Or actually, is it? We'll take a look at what he says and we will see if that is true or not.
Now I know when you watch that title, you're thinking, what the heck is Richard talking about? But look, this is going to be a pretty controversial subject, but it's really, really important for you to know because this is one of the biggest mistakes that I made within my first 3 years in business. Because the topic of multiple income streams is what every single guru talks about. You probably already know the line, the average millionaire has 7 different income streams. And so when people begin to throw around income stream and passive income and investing and all of these different investing money terms, what ends up happening is all of us begin to think, especially early on in entrepreneurship, that we need to have multiple things happening at the same time in order to have a successful online coaching business.
He's got a fair point. In reality, most people, they try to do so many different things at the same time, but what actually works is to focus on one single thing. And that's especially true if you are a beginner in business. If you try to start multiple businesses at the same time, it's going to be one hell of a mess. You cannot manage all of these different businesses at the same time. You only have 24 hours in a day. And also the time that you spend on one business, it's time that you cannot spend doing something else. Or it's also time that you cannot spend working on another of your businesses. So when you're just starting out, you want to focus on one single thing. Why? Because the more you spread your energy and your different resources, the more difficult it is going to be to make one of your businesses successful. I mean, it's kind of like if you're trying to start up a YouTube channel, but you are trying to grow 5 channels at the same time. If you are doing everything yourself, meaning you don't have any employees or any freelancers, contractors working for you, well, I'm sure that you can see that you don't have enough time in a day to actually take care of everything yourself. So when you see people, they're very successful, they've got multiple businesses, or they invest in all of these different things, usually it's because they're different companies, they've got people working for them, taking care of stuff for them. If you struggle to focus and you're always trying to do 10,000 different things at the same time, I highly recommend that you read the book called The One Thing. It's really going to go in depth and to show you why you need to focus on one thing specifically. And he's also right when he says that most people, they think that they needed to have all of these different income streams in order to make 6 figures a year or maybe even 7 figures a year. However, if you have one business and you give it your everything, you're actually a lot more likely to take that business to 6 figures a year, even 7 figures a year, than you are if you are actually trying to succeed at 10 different opportunities at the same time. I can guarantee that Michael Jordan, he would not be the basketball legend that he is today if he was trying to compete in 10 different sports at the same time.
When I was in college, my freshman year at UCLA, I wrote down on a piece of paper that I'm going to have 5 different income streams by the time I graduate in the next 4 years. I wrote down that I wanted to make $10,000 per month at my normal day job by the time I graduated. I wanted to make $10,000 per month doing a dropshipping e-commerce business. Number 3, I had a buddy who was doing Forex trading foreign exchange, right? I had no idea how that works, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna buy his course and I'm gonna learn how to make $10,000 doing Forex trading. And then I was starting an ATM business, which if you take a look at that photo there, don't do that business model because 4 months later, that ATM ended up getting robbed, lost thousands of dollars in that business venture. Super humiliating. That was one of the lowest points in my life. That was the 4th business I told myself I want to go ahead and make $10,000 a month there. And pretty much I mapped out a path where I told myself, by the end of university, this is how I'm going to make $50,000 a month.
Honestly, it would be easier to make $50,000 a month with just one business. Because in that example, if you were to start a dropshipping business, an ATM business, a trading business, and also work a day job, I mean, if you do all of those things, you don't have any time to actually become good, really good at one of those things. And to make a lot of money, you usually need to become really good at least one thing. It's very unlikely that you'll have time to do dropshipping and to make $10,000 a month with that, but that you will also have time to have a day job and to make $10,000 a month with it, and that, oh, you will also have time to have an ATM business and a trading business. So if you are thinking that you are going to get rich or wealthier by doing this, honestly, let me invite you to change your strategy. It is much easier to scale just one business as opposed to trying to scale 10 different businesses at the same time, because they all target different markets, they all work differently. It's kind of like trying to learn 10 different instruments at the same time. Don't you think that if instead you only focused on learning to play the piano, that you would become super good at it? Because I mean, if you are trying to become really great at playing the piano, but on the side you're also playing the guitar, ukulele, you're playing the drums, and all of those other instruments, how will you have time to actually get great at playing the piano? You simply won't.
I'm going to provide for my family. I'm going to cover all my student loan debts. I'm going to pay my parents' mortgage by making $600,000 a year. And I'm going to be able to help a lot of people with that. Now, here's the inherent problem. A lot of people think that building multiple income streams is the sexy thing to do. But the truth is, the most successful business people out there just focus on one thing. If you actually take a look at the word focus, Focus, what that stands for, and what I like to say, is focus stands for follow one course until successful.
You see, Amazon, nowadays they sell pretty much everything. It's called the everything store for a reason, because on Amazon you can find food, you can find books, clothes, tech stuff like phones, like headphones, laptops. You can literally find anything nowadays on Amazon. However, when it got started, they were only selling books through the internet. That's what Amazon used to be. It was a bookstore, nothing else. And then, as time went by, they slowly expanded into other categories. But they didn't start off selling literally everything. And one fundamental mistake that many people make in business is that, for instance, they're not going to pick a niche because they think, oh, but I could just sell my stuff to everyone, right? And I get it, when you're a business owner, especially when you're a beginner, maybe you build a product or you want to offer a certain service and you think, well, obviously, my stuff is amazing. Why would not everyone want it? However, it doesn't really work that way. Different people have different needs, different pains, and different desires. You cannot sell the same thing to literally everyone. And if you pick one specific type of customer, you can craft messages that will resonate so much better with them. Like I said, when you see these influencers or these successful people, they have many different brands and businesses. It looks like they're doing 10,000 things at the same time. However, like I said, they follow one course of action until they are successful. Then they hire, they delegate, they create systems and processes to make that business run without them having to be there day in, day out. And then if they want, they can expand and start other businesses, other companies. And to give you another example, you can, technically speaking, speak multiple languages. I personally speak 3. However, I didn't start learning 3 different languages at the same time. There's my first language, then my second language, and then my third language. I learned them one after the other, because if you're trying to learn 3 different languages at the same time, all it's going to be is very confusing. So pick one thing, succeed with it, and then if you want to move on to other things, you can.
What happens is a lot of people like to have all these different income streams, but they never actually master one thing first. If they don't master one thing first, then they're never going to be able to even get that one thing to be successful.
People severely underestimate the amount of work, resources, time, and sacrifices necessary to make one business succeed or one opportunity succeed. If you're dividing your energy between 5 different businesses or 5 different things, you'll never get to the point where that one thing is actually successful. So you will have 5 failed business ventures. So tell me, would you rather have 1 super successful business venture or 5 failed companies? I think the answer is pretty obvious, right? And also the reason why most people, they like this idea of having multiple income streams is because they think passive income, but more than that, they think that if they do this, they don't put all of their eggs in the same basket. And at first sight, it might sound like a clever thing to do, right? Why would you even want to put your eggs in the same basket? However, the funny thing is that Warren Buffett, he doesn't invest in 10,000 different stocks. Jeff Bezos doesn't have 10,000 different companies. If you look at most very successful people, they've got their one business, and that is where most of their cash is coming from. And there's also something called the 80-20 principle. Some of you may know this concept as the Pareto law. It states that 80% of our results only come from 20% of the things that we do, which means that there's 80% of the things that you do that only account for 20% of the results that you get. So instead of focusing on those actions that don't give you that many results, why would you not put your focus and all of your effort onto the 20% of actions that actually bring you 80% of the results?
And this is also what I like to call shiny object syndrome. This is the most difficult thing I struggled with when I was just getting started in business. I remember my first business was a jewelry company, and when that business was just about taking off, I started to lose passion and interest because it was getting really, really hard. Because with every single business, by the way, if you didn't know, there's a certain barrier to entry. And so what ends up happening is a lot of people, before they even get over that hump, they give up and they just go over to the next thing.
I can relate to this because that's exactly what I was doing a couple years back when I first got started in the world of online business. And the funny thing is that I did that with dropshipping. Like, I tried to open up one store, but then I didn't really like it, or I didn't like the topic, so I changed it. And sometimes I would literally quit one store and open up another before I even tested it with ads to see if it would be profitable or not. Because I would see this new shiny idea, I would think, oh, surely this idea has to be better. Because when you are putting in the work day after day in whatever business you are doing, you're going to come across somebody on social media, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, and they look like they have a very successful business. And you think, oh my god, this business, it must be so much better. It looks so much easier. When in reality, that's what they're selling to you. But every business model, it's not like one of them is easier than others. Now, don't get me wrong, because certain businesses are way better than others. Some businesses will cost a lot of money up front just to get started, and others you'll be able to start them literally for free. And some businesses, they will allow you to make 90% profit margins, while other businesses, quite honestly, you'll make 5% profit margins. So while there are businesses that are better than others, they're all hard. And by that, what I mean is that you will have to put in the hard work day in, day out, even when you don't feel like it. And on a side note, if you are interested in starting your own online business, but you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, I have recorded a free video in which I analyze every popular online business model, and together we figure out which one is the best to start for beginners, and most importantly, which one is the best for you to start. We take a look at the pros and at the cons of every business model, and I'm also going to share with you a 3-step process that you can use starting today to get your first clients. The link is in the description below if you are interested.
And that's exactly what I did. I did that with my jewelry business and it didn't make any money. So I thought, you know what? The jewelry business doesn't work, so let me go ahead and let me go do dropshipping. And then I ended up working on a dropshipping e-commerce business for about a year, and that started taking off. But then I thought, you know what? Let me go ahead and move on to the next thing. And I moved over to an ATM business, and the same exact thing kept on happening. Is it the business that doesn't work, or sometimes we just have to take a tough pill, and it's a really, really tough pill to swallow? But I looked intrinsically at myself, and I said, okay, maybe it's not the business that's not working. It's myself as an entrepreneur. I'm not putting in the focus and the energy required in order to even make one business successful.
That's exactly what happened with me. I wanted to succeed really badly, but I was just distracted. I would work at something, but because it would be tough, I would just see some marketer come up with this new business strategy, and I would just want to start that one as well. Because I thought, oh, let me find the best strategy. And like I said, yes, there are business models that are much better than others. That's true. However, they all require work. So at some point, you need to pick one thing and to stick with it until you succeed. Because trust me, if you try to start multiple businesses at once, you won't have the energy nor the time to actually make any of them work. So start one, give it your all, your everything. When you're working, don't be watching YouTube or replying to text messages at the same time. Just work. Truthfully, every business model works. Some people, they make millions with dropshipping. Some people, they make millions with affiliate marketing. Some people make millions with consulting. All of those business models work. That's a guarantee. However, not all entrepreneurs work. You see, the funny thing is that when you want to start a business and you start telling your friends, your family about it, they might say, but it's very risky. You shouldn't do that. Some people will try to discourage you from starting your business because they genuinely love you, they want to protect you, and they think that it's just too risky. While, to be honest, some other people, they'll try to make you give up on your idea of starting a business because they don't want you to succeed deep down. And if you were to succeed, it would be a gigantic blow to their ego because it would just show they haven't worked as hard as you did. But lots of people are going to tell you the famous 9 out of 10 businesses fail. And while this is a true statistic, I would like to point something out. It's not necessarily that 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Rather, it's 9 out of 10 people fail. There's a big difference here. When you say 9 out of 10 businesses fail, it sounds like it's out of your control. Like it's either you're going to get lucky and you will succeed, or you won't and your business is going to fail. However, in reality, who runs the business? People. So whose fault is it if the business does not succeed? People. And I know when you run an online business, it can be very tempting to just start another because you think it's better than the one you're currently working on. And trust me, maybe you say that, okay, I'm going to commit to doing consulting. But then one day you're going to go on YouTube and you will see this guy talking about dropshipping and how he made $50,000 selling some car toy or whatever in 1 week. And you'll think, oh my god, I should have started a dropshipping business. When in reality, not necessarily. Because if you go in depth and you analyze the business model on a fundamental level, you'll realize consulting is so much better than dropshipping. Again, if you want to discover what's the best online business to start as a beginner, the link to the free video is in the description.
And that's how the first 4 businesses from the age of 18 all the way to 21, the first 3 years that I was in business, I had no success. I lost money. I did not make money. I worked for free, but then I went into the negative because I didn't make any money because I just kept on moving from one thing to the next. It wasn't until I found one of my first mentors where he excelled in the coaching business and he said, oh, look, Richard, you're doing all this random stuff. You're scatterbrained. It's almost like you have ADD and you're not focusing on just one thing. Why don't you just stick with something for the next 6 months? And so that's exactly what I did. I created a coaching program around productivity because I was super passionate about how to be more productive in school, how to get better grades, how to save more time. And that coaching program was the only thing I focused on for 8 months. That coaching program ended up generating my first $500,000. Now, when that happened, and it was more money than I'd ever seen before as a 21-year-old, I had to ask myself, did I make all this income because there was something inherently different about the coaching business? No, the reason why the business took off is because I put all my eggs in one basket. I didn't have multiple streams of income. I only had one stream of income, but I did it really, really well.
Again, I can't stress this enough. You need to pick one thing, stick with it for at least at the bare minimum 6 months and work on it. Block out all the noise, block out all the distractions, because the rest does not matter. If you can't be successful at one thing, what makes you think you'll be successful at 10 other things at the same time? It makes literally no sense. Any business model can work if you give it your all. So right now, make a commitment to yourself. If you're going to do dropshipping, commit to doing dropshipping for the next 6 months. If you're going to do affiliate marketing, commit to doing affiliate marketing for the next 6 months. If you're doing consulting, same thing. Commit to doing consulting for the next 6 months. And don't half-ass everything. Give it your all, and you'll see by the end of that 6 month period, you will have made a lot of progress. You will have moved forward. And in 6 months, you should definitely be able to sign your first couple clients. Now, on the topic of focusing on one thing, it's one thing to focus on one business, but within one business, you need to focus on serving one type of customer in one single niche. And I will even dare say that you need to only have one single product or service, especially when you are just beginning, because the more stuff you add, the more products, services, or the more customers you try to target. And by that I mean different types of customers. Like if you try to target plumbers and also real estate agents at the same time, different niches have different vocabulary, different ways of behaving, different ways of thinking. You cannot speak the same way to all of them. Your message has to be catered towards one specific niche, one specific type of customer. For that reason, you only want to pick one. If you say that you're going to do lead generation for real estate agents, only focus on that and become great at it. And that's how you're going to make a substantial income. Have you ever been to a restaurant and they offer like pizza, sushi, and cheeseburgers, Italian food? Usually their food is pretty crap. That's because they cannot make the best sushi in the world or the best pizzas in the world if they do both. And the same is even true in sports. The best weightlifters and bodybuilders, they're not the ones with necessarily the best cardio. They couldn't necessarily run a marathon. And the opposite is also true. People who run marathons, they couldn't necessarily lift the amount of weight that powerlifters can lift. And you might be thinking, but isn't it very risky to put all of my eggs in one basket? Like, what if I lose that metaphorical basket? What happens then? The way that I personally go about things, and the way that I recommend that you go about things, is that you save as much money as you can to invest in starting your own business, and then you grow that business to 10k a month, 20k a month, 30k a month, even 50k a month and beyond. And then you reinvest in your business to keep growing it, of course, but also you can take some of your profits generated with your business and invest them to create passive sources of income for you. Like for instance, you can invest in real estate or in the stock market, in high-end watches, or in other things like collector items. And those different investments, the cool thing with it is that they could actually completely pay for your lifestyle. This means that even if one month you have a bad business month for whatever reason, your lifestyle is still paid for either way. Your expenses are covered, so it's going to take some pressure off of your shoulders. And also with inflation year after year, your assets are going to gain value. Because if on the other hand you just save money, you don't hold any assets, you don't buy any assets, you're just going to lose money. Your buying power is just going to be reduced year after year, and you will in fact become poorer and poorer year after year.
You might know the very famous fighter Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is famous to have said, "I don't fear the man who has trained 10,000 kicks one time. I fear the man who has trained one kick 10,000 times."
It takes a lot of practice to be really good at something. Let's think about it this way. If you're an incredible salesperson, then every single company in the world is going to want to hire you, right? However, if you're not really that good at selling, then pretty much nobody is going to want to hire you. It only makes sense. In business, the same thing applies. The more you work at something, the better you'll be at it. The more you work with one type of customer, one type of market, the more you will understand the pains, the problems, the needs of that market, and the better you'll be able to craft messages that resonate with that specific market. So as a result, you will make a lot more money.
The problem I realized, and this is something that I learned from a gentleman named Alex Hormozy, he said, no, Richard, the way that you build your business and expand is not to do more things, it's to do less things better.
A lot of the time, people think that if they want to make more money, it's all about doing more. Like they have to work longer hours, or they have to work harder, and all that stuff. When in reality, making more money, it's often about working smarter, hiring, delegating, and finding new ways to work, creating systems and processes to grow your business. What gets you to 10k per month, it's not going to get you to $50,000 a month. But if I were you, I would not personally be worrying about getting to $50,000 a month or to $1 million a month if I hadn't gotten to $10,000 a month. This is where your main focus should be right now if you don't even have a business. To start one, to stick with it for 6 months, and to get it to $10,000 a month. And then of course to grow it, and like I said, take some of your profits and invest them in different types of investments to completely pay for your lifestyle. Because if you know that, for instance, you want to spend $10,000 a month to have a great lifestyle, then if you invest a certain amount of money, you do all of the calculations, you'll get exactly $10,000 a month through your different investments. It could be through dividends from the stock market, and then you can work on expanding your businesses, growing them, while at the same time, your lifestyle is completely paid for.
And so after I heard that advice, I'm now looking at my own business and I'm thinking, how can I do things better? because I'm already starting to still get shiny object syndrome with wanting to jump to another company. So I'm catching myself even right now, and it's really, really difficult.
Also, you have to be very careful, because actually shiny object syndrome, it doesn't only happen to beginners. Like he said, it also happens to literally intermediate business people who have made millions of dollars already. So for that reason, you always need to keep in mind to remind yourself to be careful of the shiny object syndrome, because it can literally get you at any level. It's not only reserved for beginners. You could get to 500k a month with your business and then think, oh, but what if I started this big company instead? What if I started this software company? And maybe that's a good idea. In some cases, it's a great idea. However, I would really be careful and ask myself, am I not just falling for shiny object syndrome yet again?
So regardless of right now you're making no money online, or you have a 6-figure, 7-figure, or even 8-figure online consulting business, the one lesson that I could pass on to you from this video is stop thinking about multiple streams of income and start thinking about how you can focus and go deep on one thing. People always like to say the grass is greener on the other side, the grass is greener on the other side. Let me tell you, the grass is greener where you water it. If you choose to put effort into one thing, it will work. If you want to do drop shipping, guess what? If you go hard at that for 2-3 years, you'll make something work. If you want to do it with the coaching business, and go hard at that, you're going to make it work.
I agree with him, but in reality, like I said, some business models are way better to start compared to others. To give you an example, if you wanted to start a dropshipping business, you would need at least $5,000 in startup capital. Why? Because you would need to do lots of testing, especially if you are going to use paid advertising to get traffic onto your product page. If you really want to start a physical product-based business like dropshipping, then I would highly recommend that you use organic marketing to promote your products. But what I would personally recommend is that you start a service-based online business. Why? Because you can start it for virtually no money. And not only that, but to keep your business running each month, it's never going to cost you more than the price of a meal. So in my opinion, that is the ideal business model to start as a beginner.
The reason why when I look back at all these businesses, and I really feel like I stuck with coaching, is because coaching was a business that not only was able to make great income, it was the only business that I had participated in where I felt like I was truly doing God's work by loving and serving people.
It's true that when you're doing something like dropshipping, you're only reselling crappy AliExpress products to people who could, quite frankly, buy it cheaper on literally AliExpress or Wish. So it's not like you're really bringing that much value to each customer. So if you want to make a substantial amount of money with a business like dropshipping, you would need to sell hundreds, even thousands of products every single month. This means that you need to convince hundreds or thousands of people to buy from you month after month. And trust me, it's a lot harder than it looks. Dropshipping gurus love to talk to you about, oh, I made $1 million in 24 hours. And in reality, most of that is simply revenue, not profit. And for most people, to be honest, dropshipping is going to make them lose money, not gain any. Why? Because it's an oversaturated market. Realize that it's not 2015 anymore. People are no longer willing to pay high prices for cheap AliExpress products just because you have a pretty fancy website. So the main takeaway from this video is that you want to pick one business model and stick with it. And not only that, but you pick one niche and one service or product, and you really stick with it for at least at the bare minimum 6 months. And then if after 6 months of hard, consistent effort, you see that things are just not working out, you can take a step back and look at your business and ask yourself, am I actually focusing on the things that move the needle forward in the business? If the answer is no, then you'll quickly notice what you need to do to move forward. And if the answer is yes, if you've been giving it your all for 6 months straight, then probably it simply means that it's a matter of time before you succeed with that business. Now, if you want to discover what's the best online business to start for beginners, I have recorded a free video in which I analyze every popular online business model to start for beginners. We take a look at the pros and at the cons of each model. And I'm also going to share with you the 3-step process that you can use to start getting your first customers today. The link is in the description below if you are interested. At the end of the day, lots of people say that knowledge is power. In reality, nothing is going to make you money other than just getting started. You could read every book on money or personal finance, but that alone, it's not going to guarantee that you will become successful and get to 6 or even 7 figures a year. Like a lot of people think that if you're not super smart or super talented, or if you don't have the right network, you can't get rich. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, it might be harder, but with an online business, those things, they don't even come in the picture. It's simply about providing value, as much value as possible to customers. And in business, typically, you can either provide a lot of value to a small number of people, think Ferrari, or provide some value to a big number of people, think Toyota. Now with that said, destroy the like button, and as always, I am waiting for you on the other side.